The following is a transcript between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am, originally produced on June 3rd, 2021, under the constellation of Gemini, in the mental week, examining through the heart chakra. Me. Whenever I think about the concepts of this month, I get a vision of a constant conflict of interest between the parties, because at least everyone I know who has this sign very present in their lives end up being very bipolar, in the sense that one day they live life one way, and the next day they live life in a completely different way. They want to be free, but at the same time, friends with everyone. I have absolutely none of the Gemini energy in me, so they make it more difficult for me. I don't know how to relate to this energy, and so in turn, I am attracted to it as a kind of challenge. Their fascination with learning and relating, but at the same time closing themselves off as the counterpart to sharing and conversing, which is really hiding from who they are to others. And today, in relation to the heart, this moves me precisely because most of the people that I have loved very much in my life and have disappeared from it in tragic ways are this sign. I am. And it moves you because precisely the reason for their disappearance has been to change their mind imminently. Me. Yes, I'm sure that we have all been confronted at one time or another with relationships that are unstable and in which everything changes in an instant. I have experienced them on 3 levels that I am very aware of, from friendship, from the couple, and from the family. I am, tell me, me. The first was a friendship. Since I was 11 years old, I had a very close friend whom I loved and love very much, with whom we were together all day long like brothers. He was very funny, communicative, and loved to learn, but at the same time very reserved about what was really going on inside of him, and he used to hide his sorrows behind endless jokes. I knew what affected him and hurt him, but even so, I did not interfere in his life, unless one day he would tell me. Years went by when we didn't talk to each other because I moved countries, but there he was anyway. He had many different groups of friends in different environments, but he tended not to bring them together, preferring to keep the autonomy of friendships in specific circles. Upon my return, there was the intention to continue this friendship, but soon things started to change, and by soon I meant in the same week. From being my friend as always, in an instant I became his enemy, the devil. The reason? One of his new group of friends was of the evangelical religion, which considered what I was doing as an extension of the devil. As much as we had seen each other at other times, their attitudes were different, and their attitudes toward me had changed. We had always been there for each other, but we preferred to keep to ourselves. I am, and in love, me. You know the story well, almost like everyone else. The time that I fell madly in love with a man that I still dream about to this day. He marked a before and after in my heart, for I came from the whole, and he gave me the fullness of the void. I understood so many things, and we knew that we were meant for each other in just 1 week. And in the same amount of time, everything changed suddenly. He was a totally different person. Maybe I made a mistake of speeding things up, but his environment made him change his mind about me in just 24 hours, coming to disappear from my life, as no one has ever done, being a ghost with whom I have no way to contact by any means, with whom my words remain guarded, when, on the contrary, they were at his full service. I am. And the family? Me. Well, conflicts of interest, misinterpretations of what each of us intended with the projects that we were doing. I saw something much bigger for which we all had to make an initial effort, and someone in my family saw that as a betrayal or denial of them, as if I was disrespecting everything they were doing for me. In a few months, and especially in just 1 week, the attitude changed completely, putting herself in the role of victim when there was no one of these roles, not even victimizer. And getting ahead of the Geminian emotions, it polarized to the point of placing us in the place of enemies. I will never understand it, but just as with the other two, I respected the space, I stepped back empathetically, and not only their space, but I respected my own energy. I am. The Geminian heart surrenders or withdraws. That is something that, for the most part, we all share, perhaps on a smaller or larger scale. Just as the change in their position or reaction was the same, to change yours. Me. But they set the intention to do something else. I am. But you followed that intention. This is not a judgment. It is a logical and objective observation of the facts. The tendency to see that outcomes have only one end of the thread does not allow us to see that a knot has two ends. Both pull to tighten, both pull to loosen. Me, some more than others. I am. And yet here you are. And why? Because the heart of Gemini reminds us of service, but not the service of Pisces, related to the unconditional servitude for the welfare of others, but another kind of service, the one that serves for something. Are you useful? What do you serve for? And what do others serve you for? Me, how? I am. What did your friend serve you for? Me, coldly to laugh, to have a good time, to feel accompanied. I am. And what was your lover good for? Me, to feel loved, to feel at peace and complete. I am. And what was your relative good for? Me, to feel protected, contained, and supported. I am. Therefore, they were at your service, just as in some way you were at their service. Let's understand this. Serve comes from the Indo-European ser, which means to protect. This, in Latin, gave the idea that the one who protects is the property of the protected, servus, meaning the word for slave. The idea of being of service puts us in a sense of dependence on the other. Serving the other can be positively interpreted as collaborating, helping, making oneself available, although it will never cease to have an enslaving origin, more related to utility than to sharing. This brings us to the counterpart, the one who watches over the servants, the servant, which comes from the word were, to watch, and which in German gives the word worden, which in English we use as to keep. For English, the word originates the verb to guard, using the term for the fact of protecting and watching over something by hiding it from others, which is to keep or to save. Me. So one becomes a slave to the other to such an extent that one starts to be vigilant, trying to keep it to oneself. I am. The old power struggle to lead us to seek to have more and then fight over who gets the bigger share. The abundance of the heart puts us at the service of giving, which can be from the selfishness and unconditionality, or from interest and conditionality. When conditions begin to exist on one side or the other, the being becomes vigilant, attentive to situations that lead him to guard himself, to protect himself, so as not to lose his own energy. Me. The verb serve should therefore be unconditional in order to be really beneficial to people. I am. And this implies understanding that one is the servant of others in terms of use, of utility, to become aware that there is no relationship that does not benefit from another through service, is what would make us freer to choose how much we give to another. A plant is at the service of animals by delivering oxygen with each exhalation. An animal is at the service of others by nature by leaving remains for insects. And there are services that involve giving up parts of oneself, losing. Me, but from unconscious. I am. Everything changes. For you are able to make the decision of what you wish to give up and what you wish to keep. Perhaps in the eyes of quality, you believe that serving is the positive aspect and keeping the negative. But it is not so. It all depends on the consciousness with which you look at reality. We could take, for example, serving as positive if it arises from unconditional love, from putting yourself at the disposal of others. But the only way for it to be unconditional would be if you do not lose an ounce of energy in doing so, but on the contrary, you expand your energy. Me. Like when I do something for the other, I feel even more energetic, happy, and expanded. I am. That's right. In such a case, keeping this energy would be counterproductive because an internal excess of this energy can harm you. People guard themselves, guard their energy for fear of dying, of losing, of being robbed. For this reason, they close themselves, cut relationships, move away to keep themselves, to protect themselves in contained spaces. Here, you see the negative aspect in the fact that the energy is not renewed unless you exchange it, and that which does not circulate stagnates, and what stagnates gets sick. Now, seen from the conscious opposite, being in service can make us dependent on the other, which makes service become more of a measured attitude where the other is equally independent and will only relate to you at the moment of true need. Until then, they are equal, and there are no ties that untie them, but love that moves them. Here, saving has a necessary logic, which is to reserve the energy for those who really need it or for projects that really deserve expansion. Me. It would be that, instead of lamenting over relationship breakups, I have to focus on saving my energy for what I feel needs me now. I am. It seems obvious, self-evident, and yet few humans live this way. The body manages and saves the energy for the moment of real need, where the being must put itself at the service of the whole. Me. How do I correct this gap between serving and saving? I am. By communicating, speaking, manifesting the truth, making clear the links, making clear the limits between giving and receiving, between what you are willing to give and what is yours, and what you intend to keep for yourself. Learning to communicate this is the key to a coherent relationship out of dependent conditional bipolarity. Me, it sounds simple, and it's so hard. I am. Start little by little. Identify, first of all, in which relationships, in which links or circles of people in which you move, you are giving more than you receive, and in which ones are you at the service of losing your energy, in which ones you are from unconsciousness or from consciousness. Identify what you keep, and if you do it out of fear or coherence. If you are a guardian of slavery or a guardian of your service. Me, I set my intention to identify this so that I can have a better and healthier relationships. I am, and when you are ready, communicate it. Say it to whom it is due, for the greatest of love. Sometimes holding back is the answer until you are ready to serve from freedom. Me, I expand in a spiral of surrender and consciousness. I am. Surrender from freedom. Be free and love the world by loving you.